yesterday. That looked like it was a bunch of fun for all the guys going off the diving board and such.
Yeah, I think just in general, like you've had 4 straight days of practice, so awesome for our guys just to be able to get to relax and then get away from us, the pool, and then just go take care of their bodies and get to bed early, some of those things, because you get stuck, you practice 13, 14 at camp, and it's a grind for everybody. So I think those physical as well as mental breaks are huge for them.
Were you happy with the response today after the off day and the cooler weather and all those things?
Yeah, I thought we didn't let I thought we kind of all came out here a little sluggish today, and then I thought our guys really, energy wise, worked hard to pick it up. I think we had some momentum plays early. Guys made some plays, and then all of a sudden it was, they could feel the energy, and the guys feed off each other. So start to finish, a lot of good stuff we did today, and like always, stuff we got to get corrected at this point and keep working towards that end goal, which is making sure we're prepared and ready for week 1.
How did you feel this week went overall? It's that second week of camp. Game day's still far away, but the kind of newness of being back out here isn't.
Well, we got a long way to go, and we told the guys that, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, we've got a lot of new guys. We've got some new guys that missed practice last week, so you're trying to develop them and get them, really see what they can do, whether it's, getting Isaiah back or new guys like Jaden Miller-Jones, some of these young linebackers. So we've got, a lot as far as trying to decide, depth and who are we going to be able to count on week 1. So I think the urgency from our coaching staff and these guys to, get it right and understand that each practice is really important. And we talked about it, even going into next week, the good on good piece that we get 2 weeks out from the game is more important than anything to us as a staff, just to keep developing us and where we're at as a defense.
How have you all been experimenting with the in-helmet communication on the defensive side, and what have you kind of learned so far?
Well, it's great against tempo because you can talk to the guy and tell him what the call is, so that definitely helps. So we use it then because I think it's really realistic then. Just the ability to not have to signal all the time, and obviously they did it for signal stealing from that, so the ability to go off headset. So I think there's a lot of good with it. We have a walkie-talkie and we talk to them. Parts of practice we do, parts we don't. You don't want it to be a crutch all the time. You want them to be able to go play. I don't know how we'll do it on game day. Either myself or Coach Crum will have it on our box. I hadn't decided because we're going to talk to the linebackers through it. But no, it's definitely a nice addition, I think.
Do you think it'll be a linebacker who's kind of controlling that and passing on that communication?
We've toyed with the safeties and the linebackers. I think you look at the league that does it, and nobody puts it on a DB. So I think following kind of how the NFL does it makes the most sense as far as tying everybody together. But we've done it both ways. So everybody wants it in their headset. Everybody wants it. I'm like, do you really want a coach talking to you right before the play, though? As a player, I think I would hate that, but they all want it. So,
how's your safety group looking? You mentioned getting Isaiah back. You got Jaden Miller-Jones down at the back.
Yeah, I think you got 4 guys that have played a lot of reps that I think are honestly. We got 4 starters for 3 spots, and that you feel good about getting out here and being ready to play week 1. Obviously, Isaiah needs to get out and, like you said, get back in the swing of things. So this was a good day to kind of be able to watch the film and assess where he's at. But then you're trying to bring those other guys on, and just like at linebacker, we kind of have 3 guys for 2 spots that have a lot of experience now. So you're trying to bring those, who are the next couple guys in that rotation. I think a lot of that will be decided on Saturday. Once we get through Saturday, you kind of got to be ready to set. Hey, what's our 2 deep at least look like going into the season? So I think those are probably the 2 biggest positions as far as just trying to create that depth and get those guys ready right now at this point.
Speaking of those linebackers, what have you seen from Kilgore as he's kind of tried to take that next step after what he was able to do for you guys last year?
Well, he's really confident. He's really his approach, is so serious and mature. Like I said last year, for a guy at his age. So I think he just continues to get more and more comfortable. Now coach is playing him at will linebacker too, as well as some Mike. So now, you're talking about learning both sides of it, which I think long term was going to make him a better player, because anytime you have position flexibility, I think you go through some of the learning curve, but then once it does start to slow down and settle down, you have a better understanding of where everybody else is. And so even like that in the spring, we did that with Brandon Crossley, and he was playing some free safety and now he's playing corner. But I think his understanding of the defense should be really high because, it helps you learn and understand where everybody is. So I think that alone and his approach is going to continue to, help him elevate his game, to a really high level. And you see some of the same things that we saw with Alex, with Brandon Booker, as a freshman coming in his approach and his maturity. I think that's the thing for, linebackers and safeties are such mental positions. You have to have a certain level of maturity and approach to be successful early. If you don't, it's going to move too fast for you. And so I think, he's another guy that I see a lot of Kilgore in Brandon in his approach right now that has us pretty excited to see where he ends up by the end of the year.
What are those kinds of things that you look for that show the maturity for linebacker like Brandon?
Well, I think it's just you have to have a seriousness and approach, a detail in learning, a natural leadership and presence. Kilgore's probably not as vocal when he was a freshman, but just his presence of how he was going to approach every single day. There was just a business-like, workman-like attitude because he understood how fine those details were and how important it was to get it right. And so you see a lot of the same things. I think Book's probably maybe a little more vocal than Kilgore was as a freshman, but the same type of presence they both have. That's just, a level of maturity. I don't really know how else to say it. Just, there's not, this doesn't say you can't joke around, but just their approach is so serious and their process is so organized that that they're not going to make the same mistake twice because they're going to be really detailed throughout it.
What position group do you feel that you're strongest at?
Probably D-line. Yeah, I think D-line. I think corner, I'm really pleased with where we're at, at corner right now too. I think we've got, 5 to 6 corners that can all play in games. I think Nettles continues to develop as a freshman that can be in the rotation potentially down the road. And then you got Crossley, AJ Davis, Smoke, Jahari, Deuce. So you're looking at 5 to 6 guys there, so I think D-line and probably corner.
With the D-line, we last time we talked to you, you weren't pads. What are your impressions of them now that you've seen them?
Well, I think what I've seen from Coach Tibbs and Coach Dunham, in the time being here is a lot of the times the guys that transfer here are really talented, but maybe haven't, sometimes have been well coached, but sometimes, maybe haven't been coached in the fundamentals in the same way that we want to take it kind of from the ground up. And so, early on, you don't want to make an assessment on where a guy's at as far as playing blocks until you give those coaches time to really work it and drill it and get better. So I think what you're seeing now, it's good that Jafari has been able to come back and practice, so we can start to see, and get an assessment because he was out for, 5, 6 practices there in a row. I think, Jared's, gotten better every single day. Really, excited about him. I think Jefferson has improved so much from his time here. And so I use him as an example, like Jonathan Jefferson, when he got here to where he's at now, is a completely different player. And so, you don't want to assess those guys too early because, if they're going to buy into the coaching and take the coaching, it's going to really help them raise their level. So I think there's just a lot of depth in that room, and competition, should bring the best out of all of them, you would hope.
Your transfers or local guys kind of wanting to come back home. How much of an advantage is that to get some of the best from this area wanting to come back in Dallas and Denver?
Yeah, I think it was probably a bigger advantage when we were in the American. I think now at the level that we're at, like we're trying to recruit the best transfers period in the country. And so understanding that our brand is not what it was 2 years ago. I think we've put this program on a national stage again. That's a recognizable brand from coast to coast and from the success that we've had. So we want to recruit the best players. Obviously, it's a plus that there's a lot of good high school players from here. A lot of times you leave the state of Texas. I'm from here, and you go other places and you realize just there's nothing quite like home. And it is when you grow up here. There's more state pride. It's funny. My wife and I talk because she's from Illinois, and our kids going through school and all the different Texas songs they learn and everything else. But there's a lot of pride in the state. There's a lot of history, and that's something that me being from here, is important to me. So I think when you have a program that's successful and you get an opportunity to come back home where family is, like being from here is important. So.
catch any of Elijah Chapman's highlights from last night?
I did. I saw the sack, which was awesome because he sacked him. He almost sacked him twice, right? So he missed him and got up and got him down again. I saw that one last night, and just really happy for him because I know, and we got a lot of guys. We'll have some guys in this class that I think, if they produce at the level that we hope this year, can follow that same mold that maybe, NFL teams say, well, he might not be tall enough to draft this, that, and the rest, but it's hard to deny production. And guys that are, consistently produce at a high level, like, when they get an opportunity, you should expect them to, if the situation's right, and I think he was able to go to a really good situation where they needed a dynamic 3 technique, and he's fit that system. So really excited for him, and our hope would be that would pave the door for, everybody to notice other guys that we have, maybe not the ones that everybody wants to talk about, but ones that are really good players, that, well, they might be a 5'9", that's not the prototypical height for an NFL linebacker, but when Pace left Cincinnati, he was the best linebacker in the American Conference and nobody drafted him, and what did he do as a rookie? So, I think there's something to be said about guys that are really productive at the collegiate level.
You started looking at Nevada and when do you start getting into that with the guys, and then how do you approach it with the new coaching staff too?
Yeah, I mean, we'll start it next week some, but our focus next week more than anything is going to be about us, and obviously, I think Coach Choate is has been a really successful head coach. They're going to be a tough physical football team. Defensive-minded head coach. We'd expect them to be committed to running the ball a bunch of different ways. I think that's why you look at the hire that he made coming from the Kansas offense. Where they were able to run the ball and be very multiple. So, I think I've got a lot of respect for him. The job that he did at Montana State back in the day before going to Texas, and so it'll be a challenge for us for sure, and one we definitely won't overlook. But yeah, there's a lot of unknowns. They got new players, they got new coaches, so right now we're in the focus on us and make sure we're getting better at what we need to get better at.
How have you seen Coach Lashley develop in your time knowing him, and what's it like to see him come to this opportunity to be on the national stage like this?
Yeah, I really don't think it'll change his approach in any way. I mean, I think, the thing about Coach that I've, probably respected more than anything is coming into it and trusting me. It was a process from year 1 to year 2, and having faith that our staff was going to get it where it needed to be. And so I think you go through some of those things. But, I love the fact that, we have a great defensive staff, and he'll provide input if I ask for it, but ultimately he's going to trust, us to put our kids in the best situation possible. And I don't think that's an easy job, practices and stuff like that. I think for him, I don't envy that situation that he's in, because he calls the plays, but he wants to see us do well, but he wants to see them do well. And I don't think that's a really, that's a tough situation to be in, to try to play Switzerland, so to speak, so. I think our kids really enjoy playing for him. I think he's a player's coach. He's not a transactional guy. You can go in his office and talk to him whenever, and I think that's really rare. Probably maybe a lot more rare than even kids realize. In college football, because I've worked for 7 or 8 head coaches, and he's probably the easiest one I've worked for as far as just to approach and have a conversation with.
How do you approach tackling kind of in the back end of camp, of how much do you want to go live, how much can drills work, and then how much does it kind of take a game day to finish the refining? Yeah,
I think all of the above, really. We got to do drills, we've got to tackle live, and it's going to take a game day. I believe week ones, every week one that I've coached in has come down to 3 things. Can you get lined up on defense? How well do you tackle, and how hard do you play? And generally, if you do those 3 things, you're going to give yourself a chance to have success in the first week of the season. So, no, we're drilling it a lot. We've probably had more opportunities to go live than last camp, which I've appreciated. I think we'll continue to do some of those things, because we got to put our guys in those situations as much as possible to see it. Obviously, there's a balance of keeping everybody healthy, but football's a contact sport, and we got to make sure we're ready still week 1. But yeah, probably some of those things will come down to, hey, you're going to go out there in the game and see where we're at, you know. But our last game last season, we did not tackle well, and so that's something that has weighed heavy on us as a staff, you know, because I think we really did and it was on me. I thought you want the bowl game practice prep to be fun, but I know we didn't have the same energy and focus on that. It was, you know, a bowl game. It had been a long season, and it showed up. So we tried to just get back to the details on that, and but we're going to need to have a good next 2 weeks for sure.